did it take for me to get here? In the high jungle, doing ayahuasca. There's a lot of trauma, childhood trauma, a lot of trauma throughout my career, and then trying to integrate back into the real world, as I call it, because the sports world, it's not the real world. It became more difficult with the chemical imbalances that I had because of all the traumatic brain injuries and not understanding those signs and symptoms. Looking for treatments that for the last 3.5 years almost put me in bankruptcy, and I wasn't getting anywhere. The big switch was sitting in my truck several times with a plan to kill myself. Because I had tried everything to get, or I thought I'd tried everything to get better, and I wasn't getting any better. I've got these big beams in my house, and that was a strong image. And even thinking about suicide, my biggest fear is of death, and that's one of the reasons why I couldn't execute on it. And the other big reason was my kids and my wife. I couldn't let them come home and see that. We are in Tarapoto, Peru, and I'm here with a veteran organization called Heroic Hearts Project that helps connect veterans with this life-saving treatment, ayahuasca treatment.
Ayahuasca is a powerful medicine, and if we're prepared to be really honest with ourselves on a deep level, can show us the depths of who we truly are. It's usually when people are desperate. It might be addiction, it might be PTSD, it might be depression. But the people who are really seeking deep healing, it's people who've tried a variety of other modalities to heal themselves, which have failed, often over a period of many years. So Jesse at Heroic Hearts, who we've had a relationship with for some time now, you know, veterans they're people who are very focused and they're disciplined, and they really want to heal.
Heroic Hearts is another tool. It's another option in a world right now where veterans are led to believe that there's very few options. I was an Army Ranger for a number of years. When I got out, I was struggling with a lot of depression, anxiety. Eventually it came to a head where I had to face facts. And so when I sought help, unfortunately there was very little offered to me through the VA mental health department. And so I was left to my own devices to figure out how to live with my own head and these dark clouds that were surrounding me. And that led me to Peru, to the substance called ayahuasca. It's been sort of my mission with Heroic Hearts Project to connect other veterans to the same therapy. And with this retreat, you know, just sort of expanding it to athletes, it just seemed like athletes have very similar struggles as veterans. You know, obviously the trauma is different and the backgrounds are different, but a lot of athletes come out injured, and especially a lot of head trauma. And it's a similar sort of thing with veterans. Then you also have this commonality when they get out of this life and they transition. There's this immediate lack of self and lack of purpose and this sort of being lost in life.
Well, you're the big, strong man. Right. So that was a persona that I put on myself growing up. Like I had to be this thing, to be this image that wasn't ever me. Like I knew from early on, like that wasn't me. You know, there's no regrets, I guess, because I wouldn't have gotten where I got. I wouldn't have been, you know, ended up special operations officer in the Marine Corps, like doing these things or achieving these things. But at what cost? So I lost my entire sense of my true self, you know, chasing some false ideal that was based on, you know, my interpretation of conditions growing up.
You know, experiencing this medicine with veterans and people in communities that have high levels of trauma, hopefully be able to show people that we can heal, and hopefully it can demystify or destigmatize these medicines, and people will take advantage of them.
Now, this is a ceremonial space, it's a ritual space, it's a healing centre, and everyone's welcome to be themselves. And you know, whatever we've done in life, whether we've been a soldier or an athlete or an ayahuasquero, it doesn't really matter. You know, we've got a shared humanity, and that's drawn us all here together today. Now, this is an opportunity just to place your intentions in the fire, and if you'd like to share the reasons why you're here or what your intentions are, please feel free to do so. So Daniel, if you'd like to start, we'll go around in a circle.
Sure. I want to face my fear of death. Short of that, tonight, just continue to try to heal from the trauma that I've sustained, both try not to pass on my ideologies and try to heal from that so that I don't pass that on to my children.
My intention is to release the pain and fear that has kind of driven all of my actions for as long as I can remember. To learn to see beyond the darkness that I'm trapped in, and open myself to love, to love and be loved, I guess.
Mine is more of an ask, especially, you know, here is in a different capacity than you all. I'm on my similar sort of journey, but here I'm the sort of the overwatch if you need me, and just hold that space so you guys all know that there's security and while even if you're struggling. And so just the ask, it's kind of more of the ayahuasca and the experience to just be the guide for each of our individual paths as we go down them, especially in this week.
A little nervous, obviously, taking part in a new psychedelic journey that has some, I think, pretty intense properties, is a little intimidating.
The ayahuasca will typically sing into the bottle or prepare the bottle. When you're training, you're building relationships with certain types of spirits, tree spirits or plant spirits. The plants themselves teach you the song. And so these different trees have different energies. So they might work on a physical level, and they're also going to work on a spiritual level. You're singing in the energies that you're looking for in that particular ceremony.
The medicine is going to show you your state of mind or exactly what you need to see. And it definitely did that with me. It's dangerous to expand your mind, right? It's easier to live in a bubble.
You know, my view ultimately is a mystical one, and that ayahuasca disrupts the ego and allows us to consciously connect to deeper levels of ourself that are normally blocked by the kind of status quo equilibrium of normal day-to-day consciousness.
So the medicine took me, and I remember kind of pulling back in the early beginning. And I kept trying to ask the medicine, okay, like, what are you trying to show me? I don't understand this. Like, why? What is going on?
The reality as we experience it is an externalization of the mind through the senses. You know, when you meditate, you withdraw the mind into the heart and the external world can disappear. dreams are a partial externalization of the mind, whereas waking life is a full one. And what's interesting about ayahuasca is a mixture of normal reality and a dream reality, or the spiritual shamanic reality at the same time.
It's almost as if there's some level of suffering that you have to go through before my heart opened up. And that's when my grandparents came to me through the clouds. They appeared. And then a bunch of memories started flooding back of the cottage and my grandmother cooking pancakes and my grandfather working in the garden. And they showed me how to love. And then, you know, they wanted to go. And I was like, well, I don't want you to go. You know, let's talk some more. And I said, well, we're not going anywhere. You know, we're in you. We're still here. We're still guiding you. Just so grateful that that happened, because I wanted that to happen so bad.
I mean, things might be vibrating and stuff. All this makes you very sensitive to what's actually going on. You know, your senses tend to dull things.
When Chris was singing, I started seeing sound, seeing the sound waves. So it still is pretty visual.
Because you're sensitive, you're feeling it like that.
Yeah.
When you had like discharges in your brain.
Yeah. And whatever that medicine was, it just kept pulling me out of my body and putting me back in. Pulling me out and putting me back in. Showing me I'm not in control. It's just a really nice confirmation. Because I don't know where they are and I don't need to. I just understand that they're okay.
Stigmas become very deeply ingrained. When we have certain belief systems, and especially those backed by fear, it can be a very hard thing to challenge and to change. We tend to like constructing our ideals and then having very little change throughout our lives.
You said it in the middle of the session, you giggled a little bit. You said it's this simple. Well, I mean, the struggle to get there is definitely not simple, but once you have the awakening or spiritual awakening and realize that, I mean, it really is this simple. It's about it's not trying to be this thing your ego tells you have to be. It's just about being a good and loving, virtuous person and doing good for others. So for me, I couldn't really feel. I couldn't love. I couldn't express emotions. It's a really painful question when your mom asks you do you love? Do you love me? Have you ever felt love? And fun fact, if your mom ever asks you if you've ever loved anybody, the answer that she wants to hear is yes.
Right.
And that's, I think, what the medicine helped me to see, and broke down barriers and let me experience that feeling, a feeling of unconditional love or warmth from family or friends. It allowed me to see that it's okay to not have the answer, because the other people around me, we're all in it together. And
Right.
It's exploring the space and figuring things out together and helping each other. And that's what makes it work.
I'm not saying that ayahuasca is for every single vet, every single person. And I'm not saying it's going to be the only tool out there, but it is a very powerful one that we've used successfully with dozens of vets, because it doesn't have to be the last line of defense. You should still come into something as powerful as ayahuasca with sincerity and with the respect and with intention and preparation, but it can be incorporated at a much earlier process to where you're not in this mind frame where it's either this or it's nothing else. As we mentioned, there's a lot of work ahead, and it is on personal responsibility and discipline to enact certain changes and keep the healthy lifestyle. These experiences are going to stick with you, and this, no matter what, you have this memory and you have these memories of these feelings of unconditional love, of these new reflections on yourself. As somebody said here, it's been in me this whole time, right? It's just a question of finding it. And each one of you found it during this experience. That at its core is the part of the integration process. When you are stressed or worried about this leaving you, or worried about the ayahuasca leaving you, or forgetting this experience, you have that inside of you. You know, accepting that you will stray, but knowing, you know, the North Star, where that is.
And everyone had their intentions and reasons for coming here, and so we usually ask in this bar ceremony, you know, what are people's intentions for going back? Zach, have you got any insights you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, more than I can probably put into words right now. Just try and keep this feeling, just share love and happiness. And anything beyond that is my decision. When I stray from that, and then just be quick to just release it and try and go back to it, but use that as my new true north.
The last 2 days I've gotten a lot of answers to a lot of why I suffer, and the fear of death, and what happened to certain people that are not here anymore, and the fear that my kids are going to die young and I'm going to have to deal with that, and where you go. It's really hard to put into words, but I'm worth it, you know. I'm definitely worth love, and for the longest time I didn't think that.